You're listening to the AI Moment with me, Jonathan Wagstaff.
And me, Danny Denhard.
And Dan, what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to dive into how AI will reshape teams and departments. I'll give you a little teaser first, and then I'll let you jump in, see what you think, and then I'll dive in a little bit deeper after that. But basically, I believe, and my little prediction is, AI is already shaping how some teams and departments are operating. I believe we're going to enter a period where many department leaders are going to have to reshape and reorg based around AI tools, AI workflows, and essentially it will help them reshape their thinking because either pressures from above them, so leadership teams or investors, or actually it'll be from the teams themselves because they realize how powerful these tools or softwares are. And I think it's going to help teams go through how to future-proof themselves. And as I've hinted at before, I think a lot of specialists are going to have to become generalists. That's my sort of too long didn't read. What do you think, Jonathan? Do you think I'm onto something, or how do you think it might shape out a little bit from what you're seeing?
Well, I think similar, Dan. My observation, I mean, you've heard me rant before about this whole AI is going to take somebody's job, or somebody using AI is going to take your job nonsense. I don't think AI will replace jobs. I think it will replace tasks. And so to your point, I think smart leadership organizations, smart leaders in organizations now are saying, well, let's take this role here and maybe get the individual in the role to say, okay, let's look at the things that you have to do and which bits of that could be replaced by AI. And therefore, how can we use AI to supercharge what you do, augment what you do, and those kind of things. So I think you're right. That then implies, of course, if you've got a number of roles that are kind of hybrid between human activity and AI agent activity, that probably has an implication for the way that the department is structured or the organization is structured. So I think in short, Dan, I think you're onto something. I think you're onto something here. Tell us more.
So I've got a couple of exercises that I'm going to recommend, but in the supporting newsletter and in the show notes, hopefully I'll be able to put a visual up. Basically, what I recommend is join a number of different circles. So in the inside, I say powered by AI. So it's those departments or teams that are going to be leaning on heavily on AI usage and leaning on how AI can basically power them. On a slightly bigger circle, just on the outside, it's assisted by AI. And then you can work through which are going to be improved and assisted by AI. Then on the broader ring, I say those that are going to be essentially just using AI, which pretty much means there are going to be some departments and teams that will use it, but not actually have either tools and software built for them more specifically, or actually it's just something that won't scale particularly well through AI. And we've seen it unless you build your own apps, you don't necessarily get that yourself. And on the outer ring, the outer circle, I say limited AI. So it's the tools and software which sort of does exist, but isn't necessarily there and isn't big enough for huge amounts of investment. I've been through this exercise with marketing teams and product leaders. And essentially, I think this is something that to some people looks like a dartboard, but actually is a really good and thoughtful process to go through. And the part two of it is I'll get people to then think around how they apply agentic layers on top. Essentially, which roles will really benefit from agents that are going to go out and do a lot of the tasks and systems on behalf of these teams. That's something that can intimidate people, but I think if you really want to future-proof your business strategy or your teams, that's something that I strongly recommend. And that's something that I've found has had really good feedback once people sit down, find 10 minutes to draw it out, and then they can work with it through their teams. Would that be something that would help you and the people you've helped so far, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think I really like the idea of having the different, from completely AI-able to, I think what you were saying in that last one is there's some stuff that needs a human and almost none of it is AI-able. So you've got these different layers of like, is it AI? Is it AI assisted? Is it not really AI? It's still human. So that helps you work those pieces. And then I think it also would probably bring some clarity to a question that I know is confusing a lot of our listeners still, which is this whole exactly what is an agent, exactly what is it going to do? I think if you can define better what the tasks are that it might do, you can then get a much better handle on, okay, what will agentic AI do for us? What will agents be able to do and what not? Once you narrow that down to the exact tasks you want doing, then you get much more clarity on where agents might be able to help. So I like it as a model. Then I think it's, I think it's really important to have good models and playbooks as we try and work with this stuff, because it's so big and confusing. The more we can pull it down, the better. And I like that model that you just described.
There's another exercise that I recommend. To some people, it'll be super relevant. To others, maybe not as much if you don't necessarily have a number of different user journeys. If you have ICPs and stuff like that, if you have personas and what they go through, it will also help. I say to people, map out your user journey. So really map it out from start to finish, and then try and think about where agents are going to sit on top of or work alongside you to help you. So the example I give a lot of people is Aisha. She goes from all the way from sourcing a tool or software all the way through to procurement. And what I then suggest to people going through this exercise is find out where an agent or a bot will help her along the journey, and then apply it to yours. So I'll add it onto the supporting newsletter, because I think actually this is something that people just aren't doing at the moment, but will help really future-proof you and your departments, and especially your leaders, because they're the ones that are really going to have to think about org design and redesigning their teams and org, especially when the pressures of performance kicks back in after Christmas in Q1, Q2 of 2026.
Yeah, I also think your point about org design, I think that might be quite fluid next year. I think there might be 2 or 3 waves of that. So as this thing moves rapidly through its capabilities in the next 3 to 5 years, there may be 2 or 3 waves of having to rethink the way we're structured organizationally, even flatter structures maybe. There's all sorts of questions it kicks up that people are going to have to address. That might be a subject for a different pod down the line. Who knows?
I think the more that we talk, the more episodes we come up with on microphone. So I think we're always going to be good for content. But I like the idea, and I think actually that will help people, especially towards the end of this year into early next year, that the more that we can help people think through, as you said, frameworks, templates and models, people will become more confident and more willing to want to put some time and effort into mapping these things out.
Yeah, and can we just finish this one, Dan, with an appeal to people just to say, we get lots and lots of good questions in, but we're always happy to hear more. So Dan and I try and work on the subjects that we think are the most interest to the audience. But if you've got anything at all, Dan will go through the normal ways to contact us. If you've got any questions or any things you want us to talk about, we're more than happy to do that, I think, Dan. So let's close with that appeal to everybody to say, if there's things you want to talk about, let us know and we will talk about it.
Definitely. Thanks, Jonathan.
Good to see you, Dan.
See you next time.
I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening today, everyone. If you liked what you heard, please give us a rating and review in any of the podcast players. We have a supporting newsletter, which is aimoment.co.uk, that comes out on Mondays and Fridays with every pod, and we dive a little bit deeper. So please subscribe there. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.